Joining us now from the American Center for Law and Justice, their chief counsel, Jay Sekulow. Why don't I just get your response? Is there anything as a lawyer, legally, that I'm saying here, based on Comey's own words, that's not true?
No, you laid it out exactly correct. The problem for James Comey started on July 5th, and it was compounded each and every time he went to the podium to speak. And as you pointed out, the one crime we do know of, and that was the unmasking and then the disclosure and leak to the press, was not prosecuted, not investigated, and nothing happened. But there's something deeper. What you said, I think, is absolutely correct, Sean, and that is you had James Clapper this weekend alleging that the President of the United States, President Trump, is interfering with institutions inside the United States because he fired the then FBI Director James Comey. But James Clapper, with respect to the office, I think he is way off base here. The idea that the executive, the President, can fire an executive member, staff member, the FBI Director, isn't some constitutional mischief. That's exactly what the Constitution allows. So where I think the left and the media is getting into this entire Trump, attacking the institutions of government, it is the left that's saying we will not put in place an FBI director, no matter who it is, until a special prosecutor, independent prosecutor is put in place. That is the violation of the institutions. It is the FBI, after all, that responds and reports to the Department of Justice. So, Sean, unfortunately for Jim Comey, he brought this upon himself. He's confirmed it and made it worse. And then him not testifying before the Senate, he would only do what he said in an open hearing. He wouldn't do it in a private hearing. I'll tell you why. So, in a private hearing, he would actually have to answer the question when he couldn't just say it's classified, I can't discuss it, because in a private, closed hearing, he can discuss it. He didn't want to give the answers.
I think that's a pretty profound insight. Are there any other laws, potentially, that you see that Hillary Clinton violated? You know, everybody is acting so sanctimonious, and they're so concerned about Russia collusion. Yeah. James Clapper, I'll play it if you want. He said, there is no evidence. The same thing with Admiral Rogers. There is no evidence. I'm open if you got it. Show it to me. But after all these months, it's now lie and innuendo and frankly, bordering on just slander at this point. But why would the media ignore all of these crimes that we now know Hillary committed? The evidence is overwhelming and incontrovertible. Do you agree with me that in many ways there's a two-tier justice system created by Comey? That Comey had to be fired, no equal justice under the law?
Well, Sean, could you imagine if James Comey would have come out? Do you think he would have had that hearing, that press conference on July 5th and said, I'm going to recommend that she be charged? What would have the reaction been then? So this was cooked up from the beginning. So in a sense, the entire investigation was a faux investigation into the whole Clinton matter. Because remember, and you said there are other statutes, each one of those felony statutes have a component that is, in fact, when you are in a conspiracy with other people to do this. Now, was Huma Abedin criminally prosecuted here or brought before a grand jury? Not as far as we can tell. Cheryl Mills? Not as far as we can tell. In fact, Cheryl Mills was allowed to be Hillary Clinton's lawyer in all this, which is beyond bizarre. So I think the reality was from the outset, this was never going to happen. That's why James Comey put himself in this situation, and that's why the President of the United States exercised not an institutional attack, but a constitutional right as president to terminate his employment.
So there are three big areas we're talking about. Crimes committed by Hillary Clinton email server. And again, gross negligence is the legal standard, and he used the term. All right, reckless, being reckless. Same thing in my mind. Then we got the Clinton Foundation. Isn't that a real Russian conspiracy? And then you got leaking of intelligence, which is a crime, the one crime we know is committed. You didn't pursue anything on that either. So if you're the FBI director, and in these cases you knowingly have crimes, and then he won't even put to rest, and he's feeding into a conspiracy. Let me play James Clapper before we get to this answer. So all these three things are happening, and Clapper even said this to the American people that nobody seems to remember.
Let me ask you this. Does intelligence exist that can definitively answer the following question, whether there were improper contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials?
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge. We had no evidence of such collusion.
And Admiral Rogers, go ahead.
I just say I rest my case. I rest my case right there. I don't think the president has to defend himself on this. I rest my case. There was James Clapper saying there is no evidence. He was not aware of evidence. He's the head of DNI. I rest my case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have to find the president not guilty of anything because the head of the evidence is saying there's nothing there.
She should have been at least a grand jury convened.
Impaneled. I mean, I've been saying that with you for over almost a year now. I mean, how did they not impanel a grand jury? It's still mind-boggling to me.
All right. Jay Sekulow, thank you for your analysis.
Thanks, Sean.
Important